Happy New Year. Welcome to HDAL 3610-904, Counseling Theory and Practice, Spring 2013. I'm really happy to have you in this class. And in this video, this will serve as an introduction to the class. So we're going to go over the syllabus, we're going to go over grades, we're going to go over discussion forums, the things that are important in the class, and give you the general layout of the class and how we're going to operate this semester. Counseling is my profession now. It's a career change for me. I came out of corporate America in a sales and marketing management opportunity, and came into counseling late in my career, and I love it. I love being a counselor. So I really love passing on this information to you about being a counselor, a therapist. I will use those words interchangeably. And we're going to spend probably the first 2.5 weeks in the course just on learning about the profession of counseling, the ethics, the confidentiality rules, and that sort of thing. And right up front, I'll tell you, the most reading that you're going to be doing is going to occur in that first 2.5 weeks. The rest of the course is pretty much, the learning is video and watching examples of theoretical applications by professional counselors. So more video and more video. So I would really encourage you to not get discouraged in this first 2.5 weeks because it's pretty heavily intensive on reading assignments, discussion area, and that sort of thing. And then we move right into the theories in Module 3 in a couple of weeks, 2.5 weeks exactly. And it'll be, I think, more fun for you than the first little while. So bear with us, hang in, and I really hope you enjoy learning. One thing I want to ask you right up front is please put a picture of yourself in your profile in D2L, so at least I'll have some idea of your image. And your pets, I love your pets like you want other people to love your pets, but I want to see a picture of you, not your pet or your car or whatever. So please put your picture up on your profile on D2L. And also, it will be necessary for you to use your ETSU email address for our purposes of communication. And we'll get to communication here shortly. First thing I would say about this video is you're going to need some documents in front of you, either electronically or on paper. Doesn't matter to me which way you follow it. We're first going to go over the syllabus. At the end of the syllabus, there is a content and assignment schedule that lays out week by week exactly what we're going to be covering and what the due dates are. And then at the very last page of the syllabus is a sheet on due dates, time frames, and that sort of thing, just so we are all speaking clearly from the same page on what is due when, because due dates will be held to in terms of assignments, assessments, discussion forums, that sort of thing, okay? So with that said, let's jump right into the syllabus. And I hope you have it in front of you, the course syllabus. It's in D2L, which you have open to you now. And all the modules that we go through will open with some sort of introductory video like this one. And we'll set the objectives up for each module as we go. But let's look at the syllabus first, okay? I'm not going to read it to you word for word. I hope you have it in front of you there as we go through this. But the first thing that I would draw your attention to is at the bottom of the first page, the course outcomes. Number one, you're going to articulate a personal philosophy of your own and worldview in this class, and you will do that via the first assignment, which is due February the 9th. It is a self-analysis paper. So that meets the very first objective we have on the syllabus, your personal philosophy and your psychological orientation to the world, which is what a worldview is. And then we'll determine how this might help others to attain their potential as individuals and members of a family and community, which is what counseling really is all about. The second outcome will be that you will experience personal growth in this course. I don't see how there's any way you couldn't, by learning the theories about human nature and about people. You will explore the profession of counseling, which is the very first thing we do in Module 2. Module 2 will open up January 24th. And that's when we'll begin learning about the profession of counseling. We may even open it sooner than that. I don't think you need that much time just to go over the syllabus and the administrative items, so we may open Module 2 just a little bit earlier than that. One thing that I should tell you as an aside here, if anything changes in the course, I will send you an email, and I will also put it on the news item section, which is the homepage of the course on D2L. So that's where new communications are in both those two places, and they'll be the exactly same communications. Going to the second page of the syllabus, outcome number 4, you will demonstrate the knowledge of some of the psychodynamic theories used in counseling and psychotherapy. And what we will focus on are the founders of the theory, the basic assumptions of the theory, the key concepts, the primary techniques and role of a counselor using that theory. And especially, we will be paying a lot of attention on the multicultural aspects and considerations of each theory. We will be talking about the multicultural aspects of counseling right up front in the first module. So then the fifth outcome is back to the profession of counseling, about codes of ethics and confidentiality, duty to warn. These things will you'll become knowledgeable of this terminology as we go. On the second page, to continue on the syllabus, I hope you have received my email that there is no text required. The texts that we will use will be on course reserve. And in Module 1, there's a sheet that shows you exactly how to get to course reserve if you don't know how to get to course reserves. That's in the Module 1 administrative area. Now let's talk about how you get your points and how you achieve an A in this course. Okay, the first thing you'll see on the syllabus, and probably one of the most important things, if not the most important thing to me, is your course content discussions that are in the discussion area, in the discussion forum on D2L. And if you want to take a minute now just to click to discussion, the discussion area on D2L, what you'll see is the first discussion area is called Open Forum, absolutely open forum. And it's for things for you to post, like questions about the rubrics, how you should write the paper if you don't understand that, for questions about posts, questions about anything you have that other students might also gain knowledge from if you asked it in the classroom, so to speak, rather than just sending me an email, okay? That way everybody sees the question, everybody sees the answer, and so that open forum will always appear at the very top of the discussion area. And then underneath it, there will be discussion areas for the different modules that we have. We'll discuss the rubrics for the discussion area shortly after we completely go through the syllabus. There's some discussion area etiquette that I want you to be absolutely cognizant of and follow. There are the guidelines in the rubric. We'll discuss those in a few minutes. And on the syllabus on page 3 here, you'll see that what I just said, the news item and the email that I will send you when new things come up. Now, so your discussion area actually contributes 120 points of the 400 points in the course, okay? So it's very important that you meet the discussion post deadlines to get the full benefit of the points in that area. Then there's 110 points in written assignments, and we'll go over each of the written assignments later. We will especially go over written assignment number 1 because it's the one that's due in early February. Then at the end of each module, with the exception of module 1, this module with the administrative stuff in it, there's no assessment there, but we'll have an assessment that's ND2L in each module. The assessments will have multiple choice, true, false, fill in the blank, and there will be 20 points per assessment. Now let's talk about the midterm exam. In the registration component, when you registered for this class, there was supposed to have been a notice to you that it would be necessary for you to be able to come to the Sherrod Testing Center, Sherrod Library Testing Center for the midterm exam. That will take place on February the 21st and 22nd, and we'll talk more about that midterm exam as we get closer to it. It will also be true, false, multiple choice, matching, and fill in the blank. And it will be necessary for you to go on one of those 2 days to the Sherrod Library Testing Center. If you cannot possibly make that, I will need you to send me an email as soon as possible. So that's your midterm exam. It's worth 50 points. And then you see on your syllabus, page 4, the grade analysis, total grade analysis. All the assessments, including the midterm exams, are of the highest value, but it's because that midterm exam is of 50 points that the assessment category is higher than the discussion area posts. So all in all, with the written assignments, there's 400 points possible, and you see on page 4 the assignment of letter grades according to the points given there. Then on page 5 of your syllabus, if you'll turn to that, you can see in each module what is actually in what we're going to cover. So you see that module 1 is all about class administration. All the rubrics, and that is what you're going to use as you are creating your assignments, like your self-analysis paper. There's also a rubric in there for the discussion area, which we will go over. And so everything that you're going to need to know about doing this class online is going to be right there in Module 1, even the do's and don'ts of etiquette on the discussion forum. Module 3 will start with theories. Psychoanalytic first, then we go to existential, humanistic, and Module 5 we get into behavioral, cognitive behavioral, and in Module 6 we get into more of what most therapists are using today in terms of postmodern. And it's, there's a wide variety of theories used. I mean, there's still psychoanalytic counseling going on, but that's where we started. And then Module 7 takes us into family systems. And we will study only that portion of family therapy, family systems. Now, the very next thing that you should be aware of is there is a content and assignment schedule, and to tell you about the content and assignment schedule, you look on page 6 of the syllabus. The content and assignment schedule itself actually follows the syllabus, and it starts on page 12. So in the content, you're going to have these instructor-created, introductory, and some wrap-up videos. Sometimes I will put a wrap-up at the beginning of the next introductory module. There's also a listing of all your due dates in D2L, and that is placed not on the calendar but under checklist. So if you'll go to checklist, you'll see that list of due dates as well. I want to sort of remind you about a couple of things. If you think you have a little trouble writing your thoughts down, the best thing for you to do is to go to the Writing Center in Shared Library. They are so helpful, and there is a document format example as to exactly how I want you to format your document. It's there in D2L. If you've looked at your D2L Module 1, it says Document Format Example. And it's very easy to follow. The verbiage in that document tells you how the document should be formatted, but it is also an example of how a document should be formatted. But use the Writing Center. There's also tutoring services, as you know. And since this is a counseling course, I think it's really important for me to let you know the ETSU Counseling Center and the CULP Center is free to you and is a wonderful place to go. You don't necessarily have to have some diagnosis. It can just be an issue that you really need to talk through and spend, some time that is all about you with a counselor. There's some really good counselors and therapists there in the counseling center. I work there on a part-time basis, and also work at a local community agency on a part-time basis. And I also have a website if you want to check out my website. It's lindagood.net. So some of my approaches to counseling are right there, and especially the confidentiality is one thing I will want you to read from my website. Disability services, of course, is available. If any of you have any issues surrounding that, disability services is the place to go, and we have communication among you, me, and disability services for that. The last thing here on page 7 that I want to discuss with you is about, it says academic dishonesty, and people wonder, well, what do you mean academic dishonesty? That mostly is going to come in your written assignments. There's especially, if you use references, I want you to cite those references in the document and then, list the references at the end of the document. I think the bottom line is if you didn't say it originally, you have to cite it or make a reference of it. If you remember that rule, you won't get in trouble with academic dishonesty. There's a plagiarism checker in D2L Dropbox that I will be using on written assignments. So there's that. And as to assessments, there's no way that anyone can control your looking at your notes or whatever for the assessments you do at the end of the module. So if you have your notes available, that's okay. The assessments will be timed, but if you do especially the first part of the semester, if you do the assessments in that manner and then you get to the midterm and don't have you won't be able to have any notes, then you'll be in a little bit more trouble. So keep those in mind. Okay, the rest of pages in the syllabus up to the content schedule on page 12 are just bibliography and notes that you can look over later. So let's look at the content and assignment schedule. you can see here that obviously this is subject to change. I'm looking at page 12 of the syllabus, or there's a separate listing of the content and assignment schedule in D2L, so you can just go right to it. So you see that this first module we cover through January 23rd. However, there's a very good chance that I will put Module 2 up before January 24th, so you can sort of get into it since there's a lot of reading in it, okay? So here at the very first, like in the first few days, what I want you to do is really cover and look at the syllabus, the due dates, write them down on your own calendar or enter them into your technology one way or the other, and understand the rubrics, understand the participation requirements, understand all of those things before we jump into the meat of the content, and that is the practice of counseling and psychotherapy in Module 2. So what you see here on the content and assignment schedule, this is our roadmap. Over on the right-hand side, you see assignments and due dates, and I have bolded where there's a time frame on something, okay? In other words, if you look at the second block there, course reserves for Module 2, easy for me to say, course reserves for Module 2 are only available to you from the 24th of January to the 2nd of February. Now, you can get them and save them on your computer, but the availability of them is only during that time frame, okay? And there are several course reserves. Like I said, the first content module we have, which is Module 2, is pretty full of reading assignments. So you notice there's something that says Initial Discussion Forum Post Deadline, Wednesday, January 30th. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? You have a posting deadline, and we will go over that in just a few minutes when we cover the rubric for the discussion area. So if you look on at the rest of the content and assignment schedule, it's mapped out for us all the way through week 13, which ends May 3rd, when we have an assessment on Module 7. So, yes, this is subject to change. If I see us getting behind, if I see us getting ahead, the dates may change. So, however, if something changes, I will always let you know, either both on email and in the news item section in D2L. So there's your content and assignment schedule. Now, the next thing you have is there is important dates listing. And every date that there is something due is on this sheet of paper. So I would, tack this up on your desk, put it where you can find it, have it in your on your iPad, on your iPhone, or whatever you carry around. Carry this around. This is your due date, and you can put this into your calendar. The self-analysis paper is the first thing that is due from a written assignment standpoint, and we'll go over that. But the initial deadline is for the first post on January 30th. So let's go over the requirements in the discussion area. What I would have you look at now is your discussion rubric. It is called Discussion Area Rubric. So find that sheet of paper in D2L, download that. Let's look at that for just a moment. It is also here on your screen. I want to go through this with you one by one so we all are on the same page here, okay? There's 20 points in each module for this. You cannot earn the 20 points unless you make the deadline for the first post, the initial post, and then post 3 times. Now, everybody will be receiving a different question, okay? The groups, you will have groups, and everybody's going to have different questions. In order to cover the full content, the questions in Group 1 are going to have to be understood by Group 4. So you can't just go do your question or whatever your group has to do and think that you're going to pass the assessments and pass the midterm, okay? Or be able to converse about this. So you're not going to only post in your group area, but I want you to post in other groups' areas as well, okay? The discussions will come up as group 1, 2, 3, and 4, and D2L randomly assigns the groups. The only change that would be possible in your group makeup would be if somebody drops, adds, or whatever, okay? But right now we have groups set up, and in D2L you can see what group you're in. There's a listing that says group listing in the content in Module 1. So the important thing I want to get across here is you're not just to post in your own group. You're to go outside your group and post, and at least 3 posts are required for the 20 points. Doesn't mean you can't do 5 if you want to do 5, okay? But you got to have 3 in order to get the 20 points. All right. So in order to get the 20 points, you got to post within the time frame. I'm now looking at the rubrics, the rubric itself, the discussion rubric and directions for email correspondence. You got to post within the time frame. You'll know the due dates. They're on your list, okay? And as a general rule, the deadline for initial posting will be the Wednesday that the module is open. The Wednesday, whatever day the module opens, that Wednesday will be normally the initial post date. And I think normally that the modules are going to open on Sunday. The post must include new information. So you can't just, your post will not count if you look at somebody else's post and you post something like, I agree with that. That will not count as a valid post. Post number 2 in the rubric must include new information, and it must be accurate information. You'll be given credit for a reply post only if the reply contains new information about the content being replied to. Students are encouraged to post outside their own groups. Look at number 2 there. Please look at this rubric with me as we go. This is really important. Number 3, the post must contain accurate information. Any sources other than D2L content must be cited in the post. In other words, if you go to the internet and you get some information about something, you must put the link in your post as to where you got that information, okay? That's academic dishonesty. Number 4, posts containing personal views on the content should be backed up with sound reasoning and good explanations of how this view was formulated, okay? And you'll see the dozen do's I have on the second page of this rubric. Posts must show that the student is involved in the discussion area, that you have already read the other posts. If you have a post that says the same thing as somebody else's post, not only will it not be counted, I will be in touch with you. Okay, so you've got to read the other discussion posts before you begin to post about the same thing. Posts that contain information that's already been given will not be counted. In order to receive the maximum number of points for the post for the discussion area, student must post at least 3 times that meet the requirements stated above in each discussion forum or module. Now, sometimes there will be 2 areas, 2 forums in one module, okay? So I'm talking about each forum here, okay? So there you see the grading scale for the discussion area. And you can tell by the way I have put the points together that what's really important to me is that you make these deadlines, okay? Because if you make 3 posts and you've missed the deadline, you only get 17 points, okay? So you can make the initial deadline and only make 1 post and get more points than you could by missing the deadline and making 3 posts, okay? So very important that you make that deadline. The do's and do's. Let's go over these. I think they're really, really important. Review the discussion thread thoroughly before entering the discussion. That's what I mean. Number 2, maintain the threads by using the reply button. And always put a subject. If you are starting a new area, a new subject, or answering a question anew, put the subject there, okay? Don't have any no subjects in the discussion area. Always include the subject line. Remember that without facial expressions, some comments may be taken the wrong way, so be careful with your posts. Be respectful of the ideas of others, and don't make inflammatory statements. Be patient and read the comments of group members thoroughly before entering your remarks. Be positive and constructive. Respond in a thoughtful and timely manner, especially when communicating in the open forum area. That's where your questions about the class and about assignments and so forth would be. Be sure to thoroughly state your issue so that other students can also enter their input with a reasonable understanding of the issue. Use standard fonts. Do not send large attachments. Yes, include links. If you want to include a PowerPoint, it needs to be a very small number of pages. If you want to include a Word document, it needs to be only maybe 1 page. Respect the privacy of other class members in using your email as well, okay? So the importance of the discussion areas should be very clear to you. It is, since we don't have a classroom, it is the classroom. So let's treat it that way and be on time with initial posts. So that's where the learning content is. So we'll be looking at the discussion area very carefully. Now, the other things that are in Module 1 are the course reserve instructions. I mentioned that before. Please look at that, and if you don't understand how to get to the course reserve, then that's a great time to go to the open forum and ask some questions. But there is a very clear set of instructions in D2L in Module 1 to take you to the course reserves. The document format example is there. The group listing is there. There are links there also for your first assignment, and that's what we're going to talk about next, your first written assignment. We're going to talk about the paper that you're going to write, and also all the rubrics for your assignments are there as well. So let's talk about assignment 1 just a second. I would have you please look at the rubric now for the self-analysis, assignment 1, self-analysis, personal identity, and worldview. It's really important that you use the terminology worldview that you find in the PowerPoint that's online in Module 2. So that's another reason I will probably put that up a little earlier than I had stated. I don't know how much more clear I could be on how I want this paper to look and what I want it to contain. There are 5 points for each section, and this is something that I expect you to use the pronoun I. My worldview is, and follow the document format example, follow the rubric. And if you do that, I don't know how on earth there would be any question about what I'm looking for in this paper. But please follow the rubric, okay? It is there for you to follow so that you get the full grade from the personal assessment. It's very important for me to know also at the very, I'm looking at the last box in that assessment, page 2 of the rubric. I want you to summarize at the end in a brief paragraph what you hope to gain from the class. I want to know your goals for taking the class, and I want that to be honestly and very concise. If you just, you were looking for an elective for, to graduate, I want to know that. So we can put it all in perspective. And then, of course, the summary is at the end of the paper. Now, let's go back to the 5th section here on page 2 of the rubric. You will have to do a Myers-Briggs type indicator assessment in order to complete this self-analysis. There is a entry in D2L in Module 1 that is called Links for Self-Analysis Paper. Use that link to go complete your Myers-Briggs and use that type indicator relative to this part of the paper, okay? What is your personality type? What are the results of your Myers-Briggs type indicator? How do you think personality will play into your career decision? What are you considering now? These are questions that are all about you. This should be a fun paper to write. 3 to 5 pages, all about you. So maybe somehow you'll want to take more than that, but please don't. Okay, that wraps up the introduction to the course. So the next part of this video will actually be more about Module 2 itself. So stay tuned and we'll talk about Module 2.